Welcome to episode 327 of the Grip Strip podcast, the dominance versus blandness edition of the Grip Strip podcast. We could make an argument about which way you want to take which side of that, depending on the race. My name is Philip Matthew. I'm your host. And as always, I'm with the iRacing Indy 500 champion, the Firecracker 400 champion, computer genius, gentleman and a scholar, Jacksonville Jaguars diehard, probably blowing up Kyle Brandt's Twitter to make sure that he's following, and Sarah Walsh's Twitter, so that they're following everything that Jaguars are doing. His name is Joshua Fine. What's going on, brother?
Hey, doing great, Phil. Yeah, of course. 1 week closer to NFL preseason. Well, we've already started with the Hall of Fame, but for everybody else, yeah, this next weekend preseason's back for football. So yeah, looking forward to all that stuff and getting everything underway. But yeah, for NASCAR, of course, lots of action here at Iowa Speedway this past weekend. Of course, a lot of dominating around in IndyCar as well. And of course, yeah, lots of action, across all racing. So yeah, ready to get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into Alex Palou putting basically one hand on a fourth consecutive IndyCar championship, a fifth total. There's 5 races to go, but yeah, let's be real. Alex Palou would need some otherworldly event or something that would be, RFK Jr. like to go, and or Orangeade like for him to not win a 5th IndyCar championship after another dominating performance at Portland. Wasn't straightforward initially, but goes out there, gets it done. We'll get into some of the other standout drivers in this race and the points, because everybody that's behind them in points didn't do that great. It wasn't good enough when you're trying to battle arguably the best IndyCar driver since Scott Dixon, and Scott Dixon's his teammate, so tells you all you need to know. There's only really been 2 teammates that have outperformed Scott Dixon in 23 years of driving at Chip Ganassi Racing, and that's the second one. The other one was Dario Franchitti, and it was much closer. So interesting times for sure. In the Cup Series, Keebler Gibbs holds off Chris Bell to get the win at Iowa, giving 3 years in Iowa for the Cup Series. All 3 manufacturers have won there. Blaney led from pole, led the most laps. We'll get into that. Gibbs gets a second career win, gives a 7-minute post-race presser in the press room, showing yet again that he has a personality of a bull, and that's an offense to a bull, because there's actually more usefulness from a bull than there is from Keebler Gibbs. Carson Kvapil benefits from Justin Allgaier deciding he wanted to go and make his own strat. And then all the argy-bargy that goes on when there's multiple cautions to go and get a second consecutive O'Reilly Series win. They'll be going into a couple of week break before they come back for Daytona and what will be an intriguing finale, regular season finale for the O'Reilly Series there, points-wise. Make some updates in regards to the NFL. Laramie Tunsil, more or less done for the year. So the blind side tackle for the Washington General Redskin Commanders out. Jaden Daniels prospects are slightly worse, I would say, after that, coming off of a injury-plagued second year. Now your blind side tackle's out for a long time, so it's going to be tough. Dan Quinn on the hot seat, amongst others. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. We'll talk about our teams, talk a little bit about fantasy. We'll preview the Fall Brawl League next week because the draft will be coming up that weekend. Roundup, pretty simple here. MotoGP, Moto2, British Grand Prix. Indy next was at Portland. And we give our props to the son of the late 2-time Indianapolis 500 champion Dan Weldon, Oliver Weldon, the younger of his 2 sons. making a name for himself in the Indy Pro 2000 category, getting a sweep at Portland. Formula E ends their season with the London Prix doubleheader. Last time they'll be racing there. Probably should just go out to Donington or go out to Brands Hatch. It'd be cooler. Picks for the first ever Markham race for IndyCar on the streets of Markham after so many years in Toronto and Exhibition Place. Cup and Trucks at Richmond. We'll make picks for that. Josh will let us know all things going on iRacing, gaming, and sim segment. We'll call it a day. So let us move into this right here. The IndyCar Only Bulls Grand Prix of Portland. And the only bull that anybody cares about in IndyCar, because he's the only bull that seems to win most of the time, is Alex Palou. Missed opportunity by Only Bulls. They should be sponsoring him. But DHL has him locked up for good. And like Captain America, they're getting their money's worth out of this guy. Lead 60 out of the races under 10 laps. Uses an overcut on Felix Rosenqvist, who qualified on pole in the Meyer-Shank 60. To go and take the lead, even with alternating tire strategies. Didn't really make a difference. Alex Palou goes out there and wins the race by 4.1 seconds over Felix Rosenqvist. Willpower was 8.8 seconds back in third. Rinus Veekay, the Juncos Hollinger team, one of their best runs ever. I know that Connor Daly did one better at Iowa or Milwaukee or whatever it was, oval race. But for Rinus Veekay, they tested there, started fifth. They did it on merit. Best Chevy finisher. Only Chevy in the top six. Kyle Kirkwood, Marcus Armstrong, Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden, Christian Lundgaard, who had to start tailback, and finish ninth, and then Kiffin Simpson rounding out your top 10. Pato O'Ward, who started 17th, finished 11th. David Lucas, 15th, finished 12th. Those are the guys that are in the points. Dennis Hauger, who made the top 10, finished 13th, best of the rookies. Scott Dixon, 14th. There were 19 cars on the lead lap. Schumacher actually finished on the lead lap. And talking about Rosenqvist, sounds like he's going to MSR, so huge bump up there for him. Team basically going away going to Brian Reinbold, the charter at least, and he gets to take his talents and upgrade his chances of not only being a contender, but possibly a race winner all of a sudden, even though Marcus Armstrong seems to grenade Honda engines on a regular basis. There's issues. Graham Rahal went off the track. Rasmussen had an issue earlier in the race. Stingray Robb is an issue every single week because he sucks. But in the end, somebody who doesn't suck is Alex Palou. There's just inevitability that comes with Alex Palou, especially on road courses. How him and Barry Wanzer always seem to have the strategy, whatever it may be, whether they actually have to go out there and earn it or they let the other teams dictate it for them and then they just respond accordingly. It's got vibes of Schumacher, meaning Michael Schumacher, and Ross Brawn. And this level of dominance is similar to what Michael Schumacher did, with Ross Brawn winning 7 world championships. But we're 5 races away from a coronation. Maybe it might happen at the Maggot Grand Prix, but we'll see what happens in Markham. But right now, don't give it to him that easy. They laid it out there on a platter, and then once it was there, he's sitting there chilling, barely sweats, like he's having to confirm he sweats. It's like everything about this guy is like, he's like the Schumacher of IndyCar. That's what this is. It's like precision it's like surgical. And I mean, Townsend Bell called him the surgeon years ago. There's all these other, but it's insane that such a category that is known for closer racing, for tight racing, generally having a battle for wins, has been like solely just pulled. He's basically ended Scott Dixon. And Scott Dixon's one of the greatest drivers of all time. He in similar equipment. He got McLaren. He tried to suck in McLaren. They took it out. Went back. He's got their soul too. Like, it's soul crushing. It's soul suck. Like, he is crazy. I don't mind it, but I know there's plenty of people who do. But this MF ain't going away because Chip Ganassi doesn't get rid. Chip Ganassi loves winners, and this guy just tied Gordon Johncock with 25 IndyCar wins. And I don't think it's stopping for until this car is removed. So we have a whole other year and 5 more races to go. So 22 more races with this formula, and it wouldn't surprise me, Josh, if he goes out there and wins at least 50% of those from here on out, because there's certainties in life, death, taxes, and Alex Palou figuring out a way to win a road race.
Yeah, I mean, it's Alex Palou is inevitable. I mean, he's like Thanos when it comes to IndyCar racing. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting how this season has played out because he's got a 110-point lead right now, whereas at the 13th race last year after that, he had a 99-point lead. And I think last year we all kind of assumed the championship was over and everything. And Joey Barnes kind of made this, I saw on Twitter earlier, he made this argument earlier today. And yeah, I mean, it makes sense because, last year won all but one of the first 6 races, up to the Indianapolis 500. And we had, by then we had kind of already assumed that the championship was basically all wrapped up. And then, 6 of the first 9 at Road America. So there was definitely some stuff there. And then, I think later in the season he had some trouble, like at Milwaukee. I think he had some issues there, but that kind of opened the door. But for the most part, or no, I'm thinking about 2024, but I think he had it wrapped up anyways. But anyways, though, like last year, because he had already won so many races, it felt like it was inevitable, right? And this year, it's been a little bit different. Won the first race at St. Petersburg, then he wrecked at Phoenix, right? Finished, didn't win at the Arlington Grand Prix, won at not Birmingham, but Alabama, Grand Prix of Alabama, won at Long Beach, then just wasn't quite as strong at Indianapolis, right? But then, won the Detroit Grand Prix. Then the next couple of races, hasn't been up there. Then Nashville won that. Then he wins at Portland. So, just hasn't felt as dominant because there's been a little bit more winners this year in terms of frequency, but he's got a 110-point lead. So it's been just as consistent as ever if he wasn't winning. So there's definitely the argument there. And of course, Chip likes winners, but he's been able to do it in the past, with Dixon forever and ever. Go back to Alex Zanardi, Juan Montoya, all those guys, Jimmy Vasser. He's been able to win championships in the IndyCar series when it was Hart, and now in the IRL, now the IndyCar series. So there's that factor of it too, where he's just kept so many people over the years. You can call him cheap Ganassi if you want, but he still wins. So there must be something to his approach. But yeah, for Palou himself, just continues to be dominant, precise throughout each race throughout the season. So just for what he's able to do, he's continuing to do it. And I mean, I think, when you talk about the new car that's going to be coming in 2028, I mean, I would pump the brakes on for a minute to say that he's not going to dominate, because he already said he likes the new car. He said it's fast, and he's he really likes it. So who's to say he's not going to continue his domination there? So that's going to be interesting for sure. But it was interesting in this race because, there was times where it looked like Felix Rosenqvist had the upper hand. I mean, he put on the softs, second to last stint there, and it looked like maybe he was making up time, but then, afterwards didn't really look like he had the same level of pace. And then he got stuck behind, I think he got stuck behind Kyle Collette there. And that's also one of the other problems with this car is that it's getting harder to pass, especially with the aero screen and the hybrid, everything increasing the weight of the car. So for Rosenqvist, even if he was faster than Palou lap times wise, just had trouble getting around Kyle Collette there. So hopefully the new car, I mean, it seems like it's going to address that issue, but you're never going to be sure until you see it in practice. We'll see how that plays out, but that's definitely one of the issues here is that it's harder to pass, especially on road courses here. Of course, willpower was also, like you said, was also a factor in this race. Led late. It looked like maybe he might be on the right strat with going on softs with the least amount of laps to have, but he got held up by Stingray Rob on his pit-in lap. I think he even stayed out an extra lap when he probably shouldn't have, because they said on the radio, pit in, but he kept going for another lap. So I don't know if there was a miscommunication there or anything like that caused that, but definitely for willpower, he had a shot at the win. Got held up by Stingray Rob on his pit-in lap, and then couldn't get around Felix Rosenqvist. Too much traffic, too much dirty air there. So yeah, wasn't able to get it done there. So which is interesting because he did win this race last year, of course, proving he can still win in a Penske car. Now he's over here at Andretti and hasn't won yet. It's kind of been an up and down year for willpower with various issues throughout the season, and finally having a good run for once there. So tough deal for willpower, but good run overall there. And the race, I mean, definitely interesting. I mean, you had Kiffin Simpson making some moves there. He had a really aggressive move into turn one to get around, I think, Christian Lundgaard, but I think Lundgaard ended up finishing him ahead of him anyways in 9th versus 10th there. So, that was pretty good there. Of course, Marcus Armstrong, of course, you mentioned Only Bulls sponsoring Marcus Armstrong this week, out early on lap 33 with a mechanical issue there. So, pretty rough day for him there. So, overall, I mean, for this race, I mean, it's definitely, again, another strategy race here in IndyCar, which is okay, but definitely, it was interesting to watch kind of the end. But, once you got to about 10 laps to go, you kind of knew that willpower had kind of run out of steam there and wasn't going to be able to catch Rosenqvist to make it a shot at running in or, making it up to Palou there. So, definitely, again, another inevitable Alex Palou victory there. And just shows just how dominant it is, and may as well continue winning here so you can just get it over with and everything. We may as well just, like for IndyCar, I mean, outside of the Indianapolis 500 and any other oval race, may as well just simulate to the 2028 season, to borrow from Madden, I guess, because it's definitely going to be a lot of Alex Palou here on out. This will be his 5th win this year in the championship, more than likely, right? So next year when he wins the championship, unless something completely catastrophic happens, I mean, I think we all expect him to win the championship again next year. That would be his 6th, so that would tie him with Scott Dixon there, his former, soon-to-be former teammates. So already up there in terms of championships there. In quite a short amount of time for Alex Palou, which he's only been racing in IndyCar since 2020 full time. Scott Dixon been racing since 2003 in IndyCar, between IndyCar and the IRL. So
yeah,
so 2000 with CART,
actually, or 2001, actually.
Oh, one with CART, yes, that's correct. Yeah, I forgot. I was thinking about only the IRL, but yes, with CART since 2001, and he has 6 championships across that time frame until now. So at the clip that Alex Palou is going on, if he continues to run in IndyCar, which he more than likely will at this point, given the stuff that happened with McLaren. I mean, you're talking about more than likely already the greatest driver of all time in this series. He just has to keep winning to eventually get to that number 67 with AJ Foyt, which still pretty pretty large number to get to for the amount of races that IndyCar has in a season. So, there's still that there. But yeah, it's all about Alex Palou right now. Nobody's stopping him.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about the likelihood of him tying Dixon unless something crazy happens, like, I don't know, Scott Dixon comes back from hibernation with a different team and pulls one out of his ass, like, like old school with veteran drivers, like they used to do in the Cup Series for all those years, like Jimmy going and getting his sixth and seventh titles. His sixth title was, he was a top contender from the start of the year. The seventh title wasn't straightforward. Like that's kind of like where he'd have to go. Some of the championships, he's friends, of course, him and Jimmy are friends, but Alex Palou, in a lot of ways has got Jimmy Johnson vibes to Scott Dixon's Jeff Gordon. Can make that comparison in terms of like greatness of team, when they came in, what they were, what they had done in the past. So I guess something else to go for compared to Jimmy and now somebody who's similar to him in Palou, the inevitability of him. These next 2 weeks will be interesting because it's brand new tracks. So opportunities, if you can hit the right setup for street courses, which is Kyle Kirkwood's specialty. So that's also in play, but we have to see how it goes. I mean, I think for Palou, he definitely wants to go out there and get a win, get any win, of course. But I think these next two would be meaningful. First race at one circuit, the only time we're going to have it at the other one. Having a president fall asleep while you go and win a race, that'll be interesting. It'll be the only time that'll happen in the history of IndyCar. So, we'll see what Palou can do. It's at that, to be honest, I'm kind of rooting for it either to be Palou or Pato Award for that race next week, but or in 2 weeks, but next week we'll see what happens. Get into the standings. Palou, 110-point lead, as Josh mentioned. Kirkwood, he's had 8 top 10s. This would actually be a decent points race. There would be 3 drivers within 25 points. Malukas is only 8 points behind Kirkwood. Lundgaard, third, 25 back. If you could really... it was like I was thinking of how Miles Rowe is there and Indy Lights or Indy Next, and talk about that later, and how he's so good at ovals, but he just doesn't seem to have it on road courses. And then you take Lundgaard, who's really, really good on road courses, all right on street courses, but really, really good on permanent road courses, and just sucks at ovals. You might have one complete IndyCar driver. And that's, I think, where we're at this point, where it's like they'd have to do it like IMSA, where you have to tag team drivers just to be better than the one driver. Because that's where we're at, because Palou is so good. Has won at nearly 50% clip. Has 6 poles as well, 6 wins, 6 poles, 10 top 5s, 11 top 10s, and 13 starts. Just insane. Award in 5th in points, so he's 45 points out of 2nd. Then Rosenqvist in 6th. Newgarden, McLaughlin, Ericsson, and Rinus Veekay moves up into the top 10 in points. It's still very close battle from 9th all the way to 12th. Then Green Hall had a horrible weekend, tied with Kiffin Simpson, who has same amount of, or one more top 10 than Ray Hall. And then Armstrong, who's had a rash of mechanical issues. And then, Rookie of the Year, Hauger leads by 27 over Collette and 28 over Schumacher. Collette hasn't gotten the top 10 yet. There was talk that he might be in play for MSR, but it looks like they're going to pass for Mick Schumacher. Collette, of course, still viable with the Brazilian oil money. I think so. That would be, yeah. So, okay. Let us move forward here. I was trying to look for the owner's points, but they don't leave them up there for whatever reason. Let us move on to the Cup Series race at Iowa, the Iowa Corn 350. And I mean, this race was dominated by two drivers, really, in Ryan Blaney and Christopher Bell, who won stages 1 and 2 respectively. Blaney started from pole, led the most laps. Bell came from 22nd, a bad qualifying run, but definitely had the best car for a good amount of the day. But when it came down to it, I mean, there was really you only had you had 6 leaders in this race, all had at least 18 laps led. And the second least amount of laps led in the day was led by the guy who won it in Gibbs, who led 20 laps. He led the last 20 laps there because of the 2-tire pit stop. And there when you look at stage points, most of those drivers that scored stage points stayed within the top 16 in the end. You had Gibbs going out there getting a second career win, being as bland, boring, and toolish as he could possibly be. Bell in second, Blaney in third, Josh Berry in fourth. Great run for him who knows what his situation is for the future. Hamlin, who had issues with his brakes all weekend, salvaged a 5th place finish, gained ground in the points. Not gained, but he gained ground on some of the people that he's racing with in points. He lost 10 to Blaney, lost 32 to Gibbs, but gained 36 on Tyler Reddick. So I guess it all equals out in its own way. Chase Briscoe started 20th, finished 6th. Chastain, Allmendinger, William Byron, and then Austin Dillon was your top 10. Connor Zilich got a couple of stage points, one of his best runs. He won't be buying dinner this week amongst his crew, I think, if I'm not mistaken. If it isn't, I don't think it's Hocevar. I feel like Custer. That crew that he hangs out with would probably be Custer. But Bubba Wallace, who had one of the fastest cars, they started in the back, towards the back, then got all the way to the front, led 35 laps. Then he sped on pit road and wasn't able to get that track position back there. In the end, there was only 10 cars on the lead lap. You had Buscher, Logano got second in both stages to salvage his day. He only got finished 14th. Elliott started 32nd, lost track position because of pit stop issues and going a lap down, having to get back on the lead lap. Got all the way back to 15th. Zane Smith was that other driver with a couple of stage points. Finished 16th. Gagson was actually not terrible for once. Stenhouse and Richard spun out. Was able to come back to finish 18th. There were 7 cautions. 47, 71, they got into it there. SVG had issues, finished 30th. 77, Osavar was nowhere the whole day. 5 and 48 got together after an issue caused by John Hunter Nemechek. And then there wasn't a caution after the end of stage 2. Big deal was Tyler Reddick wrecking lap 5 of the race, and Eric Jones was collateral damage. So you have Tyler Reddick, who had dominated early in the season, won all those races, and now he's 4th in points. And then Eric Jones, who's trying to battle for a chase spot, getting knocked out 4 laps into the race, is pretty brutal. Bowman, who was involved in that multi-car incident that was triggered by John Hunter, and Larson has another bad finish there. But, for short track racing, they're going to repave Iowa. They're going to run it on July the 4th weekend next year in the Midwest. And We'll see how that goes. Maybe it's similar to North Wilkesboro, where they were able to run all over the racetrack. But obviously, I think similar to North Wilkesboro, there's not a whole lot you can do if somebody gets out in front and it's got reasonable pace, unless there's like some crazy tire offset. It's very difficult to pass with this car. Even if you're passing a lapper, which I think was part of what affected the end of this race. The likes of Brad Keselowski. I don't know what Brad Keselowski was doing. He destroyed his car in qualifying, had a car that could have possibly been a race-winning car, destroyed it after lap 1 in qualifying, and then they repaired it, but it wasn't good enough. And, so that's where it is right there. And we will, for Gibbs, moves up to second in points. All this ever since Gabe Hart went and questioned how good he really was, and that they didn't hold him to the same standard. And now you have Hamlin basically kind of like coming out, I think, in defense of Gibbs, because Gibbs is such a tool and doesn't know how to do interviews, and almost feels like he doesn't have to. He's too good for it. I'm like, you just won your second Cup race, asshole. And the only reason you have a job at the end of the day is there's the Monster Energy guy, and that your grandfather is a fucking legend. He really hasn't justified having an existence in Cup after he drove the way he did in the O'Reilly series. JRM could have went and done us all a favor, and they could have won that race at Phoenix that 1 year and cut his legs out from under him that way, but they spit the bit like they usually did, because like Allgaier does the Hamlin thing, and then Gagson, and I forget who their other driver was. I don't know if it was Annette, and I don't know if it was Michael Annette, the late Michael Annette, so he wasn't ever really known for, or whoever was driving the 8 car, I don't even remember. It might have been Michael Annette for all I know, but whatever. Keebler Gibbs won. Chris Bell, your buddy, your coworker Josh, has become a Chris Bell fan, and what a year to become a fan of Chris Bell. Almost getting close to one of Chris Bell's friends in Kyle Larson for the most second place finishes ever in a season. Still season to go. There's still 13 races to go or whatever in this year, but if he were to keep on going at the clip that he is without winning a race, he could be close to or set a record for most second place finishes for a driver without winning a race.
Yeah, it's pretty agonizing, if you're a Chris Bell fan like my coworker is. But I think the other side of it is, like I was saying earlier offline, is that Chris Bell's 6th in the standings now. So if anything, it's actually pretty good. He's getting hot at the right time. He's not like Tyler Reddick, who won 5 of the first 9 and is now on a cold streak this entire summer. So for Chris Bell, I think if he can get into the top 5, which I think is very feasible, he's right there. I think he has a shot at the championship, because I think he's one of those drivers that you don't want to see go on a tear during the final 10 races, because I think a lot of the tracks that are in that final 10, he's either really good at or has won at. So I think for him, it's just going to be a matter of just putting together the right races during the playoff to have a shot at the title. But yeah, for Ty Gibbs, ran top 5 the whole race. They've been really good. They've scored the most amount of points in the last 5 or so races, I want to say. So they've really been on it. This summer, this whole year, since the Chris Gabehart lawsuit, they've been on it. So, there's maybe a correlation there, but I give him credit for at least putting up the results and winning races now. So, up to second now in the standings, certainly won't be a factor for the regular season title. I think Denny Hamlin, unless, he has 3 races in a row that are really bad, I think he's got that all wrapped up. But certainly, for Ty Gibbs, a shot at potentially winning the title there, depending on how these races go. But Yeah, I mean, for the finish itself, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I think, if this was the old car, definitely Chris Bell probably would have had him there. Of course, yeah, there's the tire and I mean, I don't even think it's really the tire. I mean, it's the aero package and everything, like, affecting his ability to pass there. But, I mean, Chris Bell did use up a lot of laps where he ran the top to try to get a run there on Ty Gibbs. And that does, I mean, running the top does use a lot of tires, so kind of not surprised there in a way that it kind of ended like that. Got up there close, but just never was able to get within the right amount of, alongside of him off of a corner exit there. But, I think maybe if he would have, people were saying online, maybe if he ran the bottom the entire run, like probably at some point he would have passed Ty Gibbs, because there was, like, when he was committing to the bottom, that's where he was, especially off of turn 3 and 4, that's where he was cutting the most amount of time off of Ty Gibbs's lead there. So maybe if he would have stayed committed, it would have turned out differently. But you got to try stuff with this car, and it is easy. Ty Gibbs can easily just defend that line and cut off his air, and then of course lose momentum there. So that's an aspect of this racing. We saw it last year with Iowa, with William Byron kind of dominating that race. This race was a little different, I think, because of the amount of tire wear that did happen here. So, I mean, it was different, but still hard to pass. And you bring up the repave and all that's happening after this race. It's going to be interesting to see how quickly they can repave it, because let's say that they do repave it by the end of the year. I mean, it's already August. I doubt they can fully repave a track in 4 months, but Iowa does have some pretty harsh winters, so maybe they're counting on that to affect the repave as it's happening, and that leads to some character forming between now and then, July 4th next year. So definitely at least that's on the table, to at least change the character of the track before they even actually race on it. But it's definitely going to be interesting, kind of, if the racing looks like what North Wilkesboro did post repave, or if it's what we kind of associate repave tracks with, where everything clean air matters and all that stuff. So that's going to be an interesting factor too next year. And again, July 4th. I mean, how I feel about July 4th and NASCAR. Everything should be at Daytona. Everything I've said it a million times, but I don't know about Iowa July 4th. That's really interesting. I mean, guess in the middle of corn country and Midwest, and July 4th, interesting setting. I don't know if that, even if you discount Daytona, I just don't know if that's really even a right fit for NASCAR and everything. And that does bring an aspect of date equity and stuff, which tracks should have the same dates and all that stuff. There's already rumors of North Wilkesboro going back to the All-Star race and everything, and they're gonna I guess have another street race in San Diego, but they're keeping Chicagoland, where they might be going back to actual Chicago and Chicagoland. I have no idea, but there's been some rumors on the other shows where they've talked about with Bianchi and Jeff Gluck talking about next year's schedule. But it's a separate discussion there. But I mean, definitely, the racing at the end was interesting, but close again for Chris Bell there. But I guess the other factor of it is with Tyler Reddick, of course, top 5 starting position, right? Another opportunity off week to right the ship here, and maybe close the gap, stay within distance of Denny Hamlin, and gets loose in turn 1, spins out lap 5 at the beginning of the race. So another tough finish there for Tyler Reddick, who's just had a terrible summer ever since Coke 600 or whenever. It's been just out to lunch. I mean, it's not his fault. He's been collected in other things, had other mechanical issues and stuff, but just not on the same page as Denny Hamlin performance wise. And go back to the spring, similar to what we talked about with Alex Palou, you're like, oh well, Tyler Reddick looks like he's going to be inevitable here, and kind of the ship's kind of the bottom's fallen out there in terms of where he is in the standings now, and now he's fallen all the way down to 4th and everything. So I said it back. I feel like you have dig back at it. But I feel like I'd said, he's out to a big lead right now, but you'll have to see how the rest of the summer goes for him, if he can maintain it and everything. And, it's happened. I mean, it's really hard to put together an entire, full race season with the amount of winning that they did at the beginning of the year, especially if you look at the way that how they were winning races, right? Last lap pass, Daytona and Atlanta, Kansas, last lap pass. I mean, they were up there, but they kind of stole it there at the end. So, they had two other races where I think Darlington they were dominant at, and Coda where they were dominant at. But the amount of laps that they led this year isn't actually indicative of the amount of races that they won. So in one way, maybe it's not as surprising, but at the same time, like they've been up there, up until the beginning of the summer, it looked like they were still fairly consistent and everything. So yeah, it's quite a remarkable downfall, I guess, in a sense. But he's still up there in fourth place, so he still has all those wins helping him stay up there. So he's definitely looking forward to at least the reset for the chase cutoff and give himself a chance to reset in points and be within striking distance again of the points lead there. So and definitely the final 10 races, a lot of them 1.5 miles for Reddick, which I think that's his bread and butter here for him, and also just Toyota in general. So now we have 3 races left here, 2 flat tracks and then super speedways. So it's going to be kind of interesting kind of see. I don't think there's going to be any major point swings here with an outsider going in, breaking in. I mean, potentially maybe Ross Chastain, based on how he's finished here. Ryan Preece, not sure if he'll make it in or not. I really think the top 16 stays unless you have a huge major problem by Cindric or even SVG or even Bubba Wallace there. So it's gonna be interesting to see how these last 3 races played. I think now it's just all about seeding here and who's going to be in that so-called top 5 that they say that you need to be in to be competitive for the championship and everything, like we referenced, with Chris Bill. And that's also interesting too, because I think 5th through 10th is still only separated by about 30 points. So even for a guy like Kyle Larson, of course, has had just about of a summer in a lot of ways as Tyler Reddick here. There's still an opportunity, if they play the stages right, potentially win a race, which would be crazy to say considering that they haven't won in 40 plus races and everything, but still a chance for him to, and other drivers like Elliott to potentially climb a little bit back up and position themselves a little bit better for the chase and everything. So be interesting to see how all that plays out. But now we're kind of getting to the thick of it here in the Cup Series, and almost chase time here. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I agree in terms of the points. It doesn't look good for anybody outside. 2nd through 4th, though, as we move forward these next 3 weeks, is still in play. And then that 5th through 10th battle, all those are going to be in play for sure. And something that, for this reset is going to be crucial, because if somebody could go on a run like Reddick did, similar in a way to what Tony Stewart did in 2011, that could be all she wrote. You just have to go on one heater and it could be all over. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, stage win wise, you have a bunch of drivers up there, 4 or 5 stage wins. Briscoe hasn't won a stage all year. Damn. Through only 3 drivers in the top, within the top 20. Only 3 drivers in the top 20 haven't won a stage this year. Briscoe's one of them. Hocevar and Buescher, and all 3 of them are in the top 10 in points. There's 4 drivers in the top, or 5 in the top 14 that haven't won. The Bell, Buescher, Larson, Byron, and then Bubba. Hamlin's leads by over 100 points. Gibbs up by 7 over Blaney. 17 over Reddick. Then there's a huge points gap. Briscoe has moved his way up to 5th. considering he said it during his post race, 37th in points at 1 point this year to 5th. Give them a reset. Let's see what they can do. If they could actually qualify better and actually get off the truck with more pace, it'd be better too. But seemingly doesn't like Richmond or New Hampshire, so it's going to be a bad couple of weeks if that's the case. And he's in a really tight battle. Bell, Elliott, Hocevar's only 19 points back, and you got Buescher, who's 26 back, and then Larson 34. So that's a good battle. That's a couple of points here and there could be the difference once we get down to it at Homestead. Byron in 11th. That's a mini pod between him, Suarez, Logano. Then Wallace, Van Gisbergen, and Cindric, who's just been treading water for a while. Prix is 29 back. Chastain's 47 back. Keselowski's 48. And then Barrett Jones is 50 back. And that's really it. In terms of, unless some sort of miracle really comes around for anybody after that, McDowell, Allmendinger, Todd Gilliland, Zane Smith, that's really the absolute crazy extension from there, but it's not going to get that far. I'll move on to the O'Reilly Series at Iowa, the Hy-Vee Perks 250. Hy-Vee, of course, used to be a big part of the IndyCar series until NASCAR went and poached them. This race was, I think, a tale of, the early part of the race where you had the likes of Sheldon Creed and Ross Chastain was up there driving the 9, and Allgaier. And then I guess Ryan Sieg, who actually qualified on his first career pole after 50-something starts. So a few weeks ago, we had the 51 of Jeremy Clements gets his first stage win or best qualifying of his career in 400 or 500-something starts in the O'Reilly Series. They went to stage. And you have Ryan Sieg going and getting a pole. Of course, they're a Haas-affiliated car. Haas went and announced that on Saturday they're going to sign Dean Thompson to expand to a 3-car organization. Thompson actually made one of his better runs of the season in this weekend's race. But in the end, Carson Kvapil didn't lead that many laps, but he was in the right place at the right time once those restarts happened with tires and whatever. Rodney Childers making the right call there. Rajah Caruth trying to make the playoffs. Great restart, having fresher tires. And William Sawalich, who's in a battle for that cutoff with Caruth. Chastain in his last race of the season in the O'Reilly Series. Creed, 5th. Nick Sanchez, Taylor Gray, Dean Thompson, Harrison Burton, Brennan Poole rounding out your top 10. Hank Hill, 11th. Kyle Sieg, it says Goliath Games, Chevrolet. I forget how many butt puns they had for the sponsor he had on that car. It seemed like Dylan Welsh had a lot of fun with that. Then let's see, Buckshot Jones, 14. Carson Brown, giving the Jordan Anderson team a decent, really good run, actually. 15th place in his debut. Brent Cruz, who ended up causing a major wreck, finished 16th. Sammy Smith from Iowa finished 17th. Sam Mirror, 21st, had coming off winning 2 consecutive years at Iowa. Justin Allgaier had led. He led the most laps in this race, won a stage, but got involved in that multi-car wreck, finished 24th. Ryan Sieg won stage 1, but he was involved in a wreck in 33rd, and then Corey Day finished 36th. I mean, Carson Kvapil, right place at the right time, but I think in a lot of ways it's similar to how His father, who won a Truck Series championship back in 2003, did things. He wasn't the flashiest. He wasn't going out there and dominating races, but he was there earning points, putting himself in a position, knowing that once we get to this reset, he has a chance again. But there's no there's very few things better than having momentum in this sport and getting towards this playoff run for Carson Kvapil, who's trying to race for a career. If he can go out there and keep on winning with Rodney Childers, is going to prove that he's worthy of sponsorship, whoever that may be. And I mean, I think the 33 is still in play in the Cup Series amongst other cars, so that could be an option for him if he were to make this happen. But yeah, I mean, Allgaier had a chance. I think he really could have won this race. It could have been way more straightforward. Did an alternative strategy the way the cautions laid out. Then gets involved in multi-car wreck there. So unfortunate for Allgaier. Theoretically, he didn't need the win, but losing points to one of his closest competitors is not ideal. He lost 27 to Kvapil there, but in the end, Kvapil goes out there, wins 2 in a row, goes into the off week with some major momentum, and I think if there's any driver or team that's more dangerous than him, I'd love to know who that would be, because I think Carson Kvapil's got the kind of head on his shoulders, the way he races, that if you put him in a spot at Homestead and you tell him he needs to run the fence to get the job done, I think he's going to be able to do it. But I also think because of who his crew chief is, he could somehow or another figure out a way to make like the second groove work too. And, moving way ahead, but we need this battle to happen. We need the Allgaier Carson Kvapil battle to actually happen, or else this O'Reilly championship could get out of hand really quick. But tale of two halves in this race, Josh. But Carson Kvapil goes out there and gets that victory.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, for Kvapil, after what he went through last year, the beginning of this year, now 2 wins in a row. Okay, so now proving himself, he can now win races finally and stuff, and finally getting the rewards for all the seeds that have been planted to get him to this stage and everything. So for him, definitely helps him in the chase standings for sure. Maintain that second spot here with 1 race to go for the O'Reilly Series chase. So definitely right place at the right time with the way the strategy worked there at the end with all the cautions. So for Carson, another win here. Currently 238 points behind with 1 race left. So Justin Allgaier's clinched the number 1 spot now. I agree with you that it's going to be interesting to kind of see how this will play out here the rest of the way once they get to the chase there. So because I think Kvapil has definitely shown up here during the summer. We saw it, earlier in this the summer. He ran well, just wasn't close enough to win just yet. But we've seen how he can perform. Obviously, Allgaier's won a ton of races and built up an insurmountable lead right now. So the question is going to be: can Allgaier reproduce that during the final, Xfinity chase races or O'Reilly chase races, or is Carson Kvapil going to be able to match him, all the way to the end in Homestead? So it's going to be interesting to see that play out. I mean, I think they've been consistently the 2 best teams here in the O'Reilly series. So there's been, with the way that this season has kind of ebbed and flowed behind Allgaier, there's been different drivers who we thought maybe could have been that challenger to him, right? Kvapil included. Jesse Love, of course, won the championship last year. Thought he would be or have shown more this year, but just quite hasn't yet. Corey Day, it looked like there was a point where Corey Day was, second or third in points. They won a couple of races, but again, they've had kind of been on a bit of a cold streak here recently, and they've he's fallen down to fifth, had another race where he had a crash here, so finishing in 36th. I think even Austin Hill, to a very lesser extent, hasn't been the same Austin Hill from a year ago, right? But definitely there was times where looked like maybe he was a possible challenger to Allgaier, but Sheldon Creed, of course, up there as well. So different guys have played that second kind of second challenger role to Allgaier throughout the year, but it looks like Kvapil has been the strongest of them. So yeah, definitely not surprised now to see him up there winning races here. So yeah, I would love to see how they battle here at the Chase part of the season here. So that's interesting. Of course, Raja Karuth, of course, we talked about him in your part. Definitely a perfect timing for him as well, because for him to make the Chase, he's got 15 points here to make up against Brent Cruz here for the final spot. Of course, Brent Cruz hasn't run the full season, but has performed well enough to be up there on points. William Sawalich also same position, 450 points back. They're both tied at 598 points total. Taylor Gray, 597, so he's right there. And then you have Raja Karuth, of course, is going to need a little bit of strategy here. Those three guys, they've it's due to the volatility of Daytona, they're all Gibbs guys, Gray, Cruz, and Sawalich. That's going to be an interesting dynamic there, because they've all been good at various points of the season here, but can they get their teammate into the playoffs, or how's that going to play out? So Raja Karuth kind of saw what he did at Indianapolis when he was in the Jordan Anderson car, one stage, and that definitely helped him get into a better position. Same here, got into a good position, technically lost points to William Sawalich there, but at the same time gained points to the cut line where Brent Cruz is. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Definitely JRM cars are going to have to help him run up front and push him to the win. I think that's probably what it's going to have to take, or another top 5 finish, and you're going to have to hope that you score enough more stage points than any of those 3 Gibbs cars, and that they all get collected in something, which definitely possible at Daytona for sure. So that's going to be an interesting battle here. Can Raja Karuth get into the Chase in his first year here? I mean, I don't know if he can really say, or really say what he can do in the Chase, but I think as a rookie, and I think when the rest of your teammates are in the Chase, granted he's been in and out of the 88 car throughout the year, can he qualify the playoffs? I think it'd be huge for him here in his first year here in the O'Reilly Series. So I think that's the other big storyline kind of to take away from this, is that battle. It's a lot more interesting than it is in the Cup Series. I think, with the points being a lot closer between those 3 guys, and those 3 guys are really the only ones that you can really think of that have a shot. Everybody else below Alfredo, Ryan Sieg, Brennan Poole, etc., they haven't, they're nowhere near where Karuth is to be able to have a shot at it. So it just comes down to Daytona here for them here in a couple of weeks to find out who gets in. So it's definitely going to be an exciting battle for sure here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think the way that Gibbs has been scuffling all year, that it comes down to all of them having to race their way in on one shot. You have Parker Retzlaff, who's been in situations in a Cup car to possibly win on a super speedway, and that Viking team seems to have very good. I mean, they didn't have great qualifying cars, but had good race cars. I think for him is just maintain, try to get himself in position, stay up towards the front. I think Alfredo is going to be a good pusher for him. You mentioned how JRM is kind of going to have to play like a shell defense, almost like a cover 2. Not a nod to our football coverage we're going to have shortly, but they're going to have to basically play that against the Gibbs guys, and then also score stage points. Marty Lindley, of course, was able to make and make the right adjustments and put cars out there for, what do you call, for Zilich last year, even when he was hurt, you had drivers jump in those cars. You had Larson, you had Parker Kligerman win this race last year. So, I mean, is Roger capable of doing it? Absolutely. I do think he's going to go. I mean, I really do think that that's what you said is what their plan is. I mean, the only thing that's really going to prevent that from happening is RCR randomly coming back from the dead. The way that they've basically disappeared off the planet here, these last couple of months, the notion of utilizing Hank Hill and Cup, I think, has affected his O'Reilly performance. Jesse Love knowing that he's leaving and he's going to go drive for Ford, I think is affecting their performance. So they need to replace 2 drivers. And you need to, I mean, the Wheelan budget, I guess, is not going away. They enjoy their time with RCR, so I think that's a fully funded or mostly funded ride. So it's an opportunity there for somebody who doesn't have money, or full budget, like a Carson Kvapil, like if he isn't going to Cup, or Josh Berry, perhaps. I don't know, but the 21 car, definitely one of their cars is going to have to get funded. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen with that. So that there's a lot of turnover that's coming after this season. The Gibbs guys, all the 3 of them are coming back next year. Gray, Cruz, Sawalich are all coming back next year. Buckshot Jones are all coming back next year. So there isn't going to be any changes there. But one of those guys might miss the playoffs, which it's crazy to say. Or especially if it's Sawalich and Gray, if one of them miss the playoffs, it's a failure. Sam Mayer, the way he's run this year, he hasn't run that great, and you consider he's 100. He's nearly he's like 180 or 160 points or whatever the hell it is behind Sheldon Creed. Was it 70, 12, 6, 6, 7, 60, 100, almost 170 points behind his teammate after 23 races, which is pretty bad. Honestly, terrible performance. And then they're going to expand to a 3-car team. I guess when you don't have to run a Cup effort, or you only run a 1-car Cup effort, you have way more money to go and spend in the O'Reilly series, and that's what they're doing. Basically expanded their team. What was a 2-car effort now is essentially a 5-car effort with their affiliations with Sieg's team and also Clements. And then next year it'll be 6 cars. So see what happens with that. We mentioned the points there. So we will move on to NFL. So heard about it multiple times on like minute updates in the NFL. Oh, look at that! Quinnen Williams gets a massive extension from the Cowgirls. Lions center Mays to miss 8 to 10 weeks with injury. Just in the throw. Patriots trade. Commanders Army Tunsil undergo surgery on toward triceps. Okay, so Larry Fitzgerald's number retired. Trey Sermon, Jawan Taylor from the pup for Atlanta. Raymond McLeod going to the Bears. Quinn Williams extension. Isaiah Pacheco MCL sprain for Detroit. They signed Josh Dobbs. Cade Mays suffered wrist injury, as I mentioned. Micah Parsons, most optimistic return dates week 6. Miami trades Caden Wallace and a 2029 7 to the Patriots, or 2028 6th round pick. I don't know what that's about. Cleveland Farrell's going to miss multiple weeks. Zane Gonzalez, the kicker, injured reserve. The Washington General Redskin Commander signed Stephon Diggs. That's there as well. We'll get the Hunter Henry 2-year extension for the Patriots. Terrion Arnold meeting with the New Orleans Saints after, of course, his felony charges and getting released from the Lions for a robbery and kidnapping case. Derek Carr joining UCLA as a special advisor to the head coach. John Michael Schmidt's concussion for the Giants. Abdul Carter dealing with a hand injury. Greg Newsome dealing with minor knee injury. Trying to see, 49ers cut Nick Zolage. Christian McCaffrey out of Monday's practice due to tightness, whatever that means. So Naeem Hines here, right? Zamir White trying out for the Niners because they need depth at running back. Doug Kramer, whoever that is, 1-year deal with the 49ers. Terrion Arnold also tried out for the Shithawks. Yeah, so, and then Tunsil with a torn triceps. So yeah, that's what's going on there. The schedule for this week, preseason week 1, it will actually be going on here starting Thursday. They will have NFL Network will have Packers Steelers. So Mike McCarthy and Aaron's former team going against them there in a preseason game. Lions and Bengals, Colts and Patriots at Patriots, and Chargers at Texans, Cardinals at Raiders, and then Titans at 49ers. So Bob Saleh going back to Santa Clara there. Then on Friday, you have Broncos at Falcons, Buccaneers at Jets. So Todd Bowles going against his former team that he coached. Aaron Glenn, of course, played. He played New Orleans. Yeah. But he has familiarity with Buccaneers. And, of course, with Todd Bowles as well. Dolphins at Commanders. Then, so small Friday slate. Then on Saturday, you'll have Browns and Bears. And on NFL Network, along with Rams at Chiefs. And then Cowgirls and Seahawks. Panthers at Bills. That'll be the first game in the new Highmark Stadium. And Vikings at Giants. Rams at Chiefs. Sorry, you mentioned earlier. Yeah, Giants. Jaguars at Saints. Eagles at Ravens there. So that's preseason week 1. We'll see what happens with that. And condense. It looks like eventually they're going to condense it down to 2 weeks, and then there's a couple of, from the 29th on, so then they have a full week, basically a week and a half, almost 2 weeks between preseason week 3 and then week 1 of the regular season. What's going on your end with your Jaguars there, Josh?
Yeah, for Jaguars, they had their scrimmage, I think, on Sunday or on Friday. So, yeah, a lot to take away from that. I think big things to take away from that. Obviously, Parker Washington continuing to be the guy. Looks like, I don't know where on the depth chart he actually is, but I think he's probably going to be their main playmaker, really, at offense on wide receiver there. It's going to be definitely spread around between him, Brian Thomas, and Jacoby Myers, but I think he's going to be the one, Parker Washington, the one that runs the most routes for them. And when they go into different formations, he'll be the one that they keep in the lineup the most, I think. So we'll see how that plays. But definitely seeing him continue to have more highlights throughout training camp here, and we'll see how he does in preseason. They continue to integrate Travis Hunter into the offense and defense, definitely having him make plays, make interceptions in practice and all that stuff. One name that I think, for people who aren't Jaguars fans, one name to look out for on the Jaguars defensive end, defensive tackle BJ Green. He's a rotational guy, but definitely a guy that you want to look out for here here in this upcoming season. Definitely had a game last year, I think, against the Chargers, where he had a pretty good takedown of Justin Herbert, but I think it got called back for something, but he had a pretty good takedown of him in that game against the Chargers last year. So, but I think he'll be a good depth guy behind Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker, Eric Armstead there. So definitely looking forward to see what some of these backups or rotational guys can do here. So we'll see how that plays out. Obviously, the pass rush depth. I mean, we talked about it last year. At the end of the season, their pass rush, what they were able to do. Obviously, you mentioned BJ Green, Danny Strigo, another rotational guy who I think has the potential to produce there. Looking at the other things, the running back situation, looks like it's all three of them. It's definitely going to be a three-way role here between Chris Rodriguez Jr., Bajal Tootin, LaQuint Allen. So definitely think all of them are going to have an important role here. And going back to Parker Washington, I mean, Jaguars, they've got to sign him, get him signed to a contract extension. I don't really know. I mean, I hope they're not just like waiting for him to prove it or whatever, because I think he's already proven it. We've seen him first 3 years in the NFL produce consistently, down the stretch here. So, they've got to get him to a contract extension. Hopefully soon, before the season starts, because if they wait to sign him, he has a big year. Could lead to too big to pay for him, or potentially letting him walk. So hopefully they can get him signed relatively soon. So for Jaguars, of course, they're playing Saturday evening or afternoon against the Saints. I don't think Trevor Lawrence will play, so probably won't be too box office, but definitely want to at least probably catch the first half and see how some of the other depth guys do here to be able to show their potential, show who's going to hopefully pray no major injuries or anything like that. Of course, across the league for that matter, especially for fantasy purposes. Of course, want to be able to get all the guys that you want in our upcoming draft and all that stuff. So looking forward to all of that for sure. So we'll see how this weekend goes. I mean, not really gonna care about the result for preseason, but definitely gonna be looking for what players will stand out here this weekend.
Yeah, I think for me it's not as much about we got a couple of guys that are the wide receiver core has been dinged up pretty good. Year's all done for the year already, so offensive line, some concerns as well. So, I mean, those are two things we need to watch out for. Some of the D-line, of course, Mikael Williams, amongst others. We're trying to watch out injury-wise and make sure that we have functionality. That's what we really want to have. Get through these 3 preseason games, get those 2 weeks off, and get ready for a long trip to Australia for that opener. Playing at Chargers, playing at Raiders. It's not like they have to travel too far. Biggest trip is really the Las Vegas trip, so at least there's a limiting factor on that. Shanahan trying to recover after the injuries he suffered in that car accident. So, I mean, basically echoing what Josh said in terms of just limiting injuries, limiting exposure that way, get some reps. I think, I'm not sure how much of Brock we're really going to see. Some of these key guys, I don't know how much we're really going to see them in this preseason before we get into having to play some key games to start their 2026 season. The 49ers will have to play some tough opponents early. Even though what's interesting is that they do have a third place schedule, but somehow or another will have just a gauntlet going on. So, you have those. They'll be on NFL Network again week 2 with their game, so that'll be nice before the Raiders' last preseason game. They'll be in Melbourne week 1, back home 10 days later for week 2 versus the Dolphins. Then they're home again week 3 versus the Cardinals. They have 3 home games in a row, so that's actually all right. That's not actually god awful after that first week, and then you have to go to the Shithawks on the 5th week. Back home for the Commanders on Monday Night Football, week 6. Then they play at Falcons before their bye week. They host the Raiders coming off of the bye, go to the Cowgirls before hosting the Vikings in Mexico City. Then they host on Sunday, I think, it's Sunday Night Football. Then they'll have Seattle week 12. Going to the Giants week 13, so that'll be a cold one. Then Rams at 49ers, then 49ers at Chargers. So they're literally going to the Chargers twice this year. So I guess that's making up for the Rams game that they should have had there. And that'll be a Prime Video game, no less. They have to go to Arrowhead week 16, and then week 17 hosting the Eagles on Sunday Night Football, which could be a big one. That's a tough end to the season if it goes the way that things should. Basically, after week 11, it could be a real brutal one, murderer's row until that final week. So we'll see what happens. Move on to MotoGP. This past weekend, get into the roundup. MotoGP was at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. Raul Fernandez gets a second career victory on the Trackhouse of Aprilia. Aprilia sweeps the podium. Jorge Martin, Marco Bezzecchi, your podium. Bezzecchi nursing injuries. Martin earlier in the year was having some injuries there. Alex Marquez, best of the rest in 4th. Pedro Acosta in 5th, best of the KTMs. Fabio Di Gianantonio in 6th. Marquez 7th. And that was really the battle. Only 16 finishers. Fabio Quartararo, somehow or another, fell behind Augusto Fernandez. I don't know if that was penalties or something else, but Agura crashed out along with Paco Bagnaia. Cal Crutchlow basically sending all the British fans home. There weren't that many there to begin with. Standings heading into next race, 31-point lead for Jorge Martin over his teammate Marco Bezzecchi. Agura falls a place back after coming off of first and second 2 previous races. And then Marc Marquez is in 4th, 40 points back. And Di Gianantonio is 41. Fernandez is on a hot streak right now. On I guess right on that precipice of championship contention at 56 back. Acosta 7th, Bagnaia in 8th. Alex Marquez in 9th, and then Luca Marini in 10th, 10 points out of Aldeguer, Bassaidi, and 14 points out of Brad Binder. Fabio Quartararo, after a non-score there, falls to 14th in points. In Moto 2, Philippe Salic gets the win over Ortola and Eskrig. Joe Roberts was 12th, and the points in Moto 2 see Gonzalez leading by 42.5 points over Guevara. Senegas in 3rd, Ortola 4th, moving up 2 spots. David Holgado 5th. Celestino Vietti falls, or David Alonso loses 2 spots after finishing 21st. Then Celestino Vietti 7th there. So Philippe Salic after his win, moves up to 8th in the standings. S. Craig moves himself up to 12th after his podium. And then Joe Roberts currently 14th in points. The Indy next was Portland last week, and they were able, Alessandro De Tullio gets another pole, but this time gets a win here. He's had kind of a checkered year, but comes through with a big victory here late in the season. Chemistry seems to be good at the AJ Foyt team for his performance, but he will not be the champion this year. But he does have 8 poles, 2 wins, 5 top 5s, and 10 top 10s. Currently 8 points behind Lockie Hughes and 18 behind Max Taylor. So it's still decent battle for the top or 4th in points. Enzo Fittipaldi comes out of this race now with a doubleheader at Laguna Seca ahead with the points lead 1 point ahead of Nikita Johnson. Honestly, the two of the 3 that have really been up there the whole year, Tymek Kasharik didn't have the best weekend, but last weekend, but is still in the points, 18 points back. So that's a 3-horse race for the championship. Miles Rowe 7th. I'm trying to go through some of the other people. Whatever, Yuvan Sundaramurthy only had the 1 race he ran there, so unfortunately. Then can move to I mentioned Oliver Weldon sweeping Indy Pro through 2000, which is like 2 steps below Indy next. He's part of Andretti Global, just like his brother Seb. So they're Seb Weldon's running Formula Regional in Europe. So that's something that he's been successful this year as well. So 2 chips off the old block, and a great man that they didn't really know, but being able to follow him is unbelievable to see. Last thing is Formula E. It's their season finale for, 25-26 season, and the end of the Gen 3 era. The current standings heading into the doubleheader in Great Britain. Jake Dennis trying to win the championship, the British driver, 2 points ahead of his good friend Mitch Evans. In his last races for Jaguar. Pascal Wehrlein 5 points back in 3rd. Oliver Rowland trying to defend his title. He's 14 points back in 4th. And that's really the battle there. So top 4, Mortara would need a lot of help, along with Antonio Felix da Costa. So we'll see what happens with that. Nick Cassidy's had last couple of races, podiums. Nick DeVries comes off of a win the last race. So interesting to see who could come through, maybe affect this battle, and dictate who's going to go and win this championship. Jaguar TCS is 14 points up over Porsche for the team's championship, and then Porsche is going to win the manufacturers. All right, so let us move on to the let us move on to the Markham race, IndyCar, first race on that street circuit that's been built. They outgrown Toronto because of all the construction, everything going on in Exhibition Place. After all these years, I think it's unfortunate, to be fair, but to lose such a street circuit, known, I think, Michael Andretti for his dominance around there for many years. Other drivers being able to go out there and make things happen, but we will go with look at I was trying to go and get some sort of stat or some sort of whatever at the types of they didn't even do the types of tracks or types of oh my god, man, didn't drink enough coffee and didn't get enough sleep. So last week I picked first, got somehow or another picked two out of three drivers on the podium, so that's freaking rare for me. But door is wide open for you, Josh. Are you taking Alex Palou? I was thinking about this a few days ago. I'm like, do we just do Alex Palou and then the other guy can pick the field? But then I was like, I'd start picking out people that I don't want in said field, and then whatever happens, happens. But that's basically remove Stingray Robb and like Mick Schumacher, the rookies that aren't, and the Stingray Robb and the rookies. But is this Alex Palou winning, or is it Kyle Kirkwood since he's the street course king, or does Christian Lundgaard pull one out here at a new circuit? First win that he had in his career was at Toronto a few years back.
Yeah, Alex Palou. It's too easy. And I guess wild card wise, go with I guess I'm gonna go with Louis Foster. See what he can do here.
I don't think that's a bad one. He has his moments on these road and street circuits. Ray Hall has had greater speed at times this year. Knowing that they're going to be condensing their resources into two cars is probably a better thing for them overall. So we'll see how that comes off. For me, I'm picking Kyle Kirkwood. He's the street course ace in the series. He needs to go out here these next 2 weeks and win these races, because I think Laguna Seca is going to be much more difficult at the finale. May not even matter at that point. Milwaukee, there's going to be a double header, and that's a pseudo wild card in its own right. So you picked. So there's 25, so 13. So Willpower actually moved into the inside of the top half. I will go with Marcus Armstrong, because at some point they have to stop grenading those Honda engines. And when they do, Armstrong has been solid enough to compete. So we'll see how that goes. Going to the Truck Series, I think isn't this their not their, if it's not their regular season finale, it's the
second next one.
Yeah. Okay. So after Richmond, they will have New Hampshire the following week to end their regular season, and then a long break before they start their playoff at Bristol. So Black's Tire 250. Nick Leitz driving for Tricon in the one. Destiny Spurlock driving for Rayum Racing. Connor Hall, the late model driver, going to be driving for Nice. Corey Heim driving the number 5 for Tricon. Shane Van Gisbergen in the number 7 Spire truck with the HendrickCars.com. I didn't know GCM was the official mulch supplier of West Virginia University until just now, but they sponsor, of course, Grant Enfinger. Go through some of these other ones, usually regulars there. Mason Massey won the K&N West race last week at Portland. Some argy-bargy going on with teammates helping that. Derek Lemke coming off of his O'Reilly debut, going to race a truck for Rayum. Elliott Sadler, didn't know he was still around and existed. So Elliott Sadler drives a 25 free agent Dodge truck. Casey Klein in the Rackley War truck. Chris Bell in the 62. You got Tristan McKee in the 77 for Spire. Justin Carroll, Caleb Costner in there. I think that's it. So for me, in the trucks, I know it kind of it's trending one of maybe about 3 drivers, but I'll just go this, and I'll go with Lane Van Rigsbergen. Yeah, it's not a road course, but that was just hilarious when he said it. Truck Series at Richmond. Phil's gonna go with Lane Riggs, trying to win that regular season title, and get the bonus points for that. 22 drivers have really run the majority of the season, so my wild card pick. I mean, I could have picked Corey Heim to win. I should have just done that, to be fair, but I'm trying to give respect to the regulars. I am gonna choose as my wild card. I'm gonna choose. Dang it. I am going to picking a Cup regular is kind of weak, though. You know what, I'll just pick Butterbean. It's a home game. It's home race, Richburg in Virginia, and he needs a miracle to make the playoffs, so would be a good place for him to do that. What say you, Josh?
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with Corey Heim and Shane Van Gisbergen.
Short and sweet there.
Yes.
Cup rookie to be next year, and 2-time winner this season in the Cup Series, of course, and then another 2-time winner in the Cup Series this season, and becoming a pretty good short track racer itself. We will see that. You can't really discount Chris Bell either in that 62 truck. He seems to run really well in that vehicle. The Cup Series will be at the Cookout 400, which will be a Saturday night race at Richmond, which I think is a good thing. Going back to the Saturday night race, and used to be in September, before the chase and before playoffs and all that other stuff. So now they'll have it back in August. On the open car will be the 66 for Josh Bilicki. So Josh, you get first dibs here at who can go out there and win at Richmond.
Yeah, for me, I'll go with you know what, I'll do it. I'll go with Chris Bell for my winner here. Try to speak a win for him into existence, I guess, here. Then for wild card here, go with this is really, really tough, but go with Todd Gilliland. How about that for a wild card?
Well, the Todd father has been running well recently. Front Row Motorsports has had some good momentum. They got the $1 Million Challenge a few weeks ago, so think a really positive pick there, especially the way they're competing on the short tracks at this point. I don't know, what did I pick last week? I picked Blaney to win, so that didn't work. I will go with this. There's nothing that's really trending to say that this is going to happen or could happen, but I'm going to say Kyle Larson is my winner. Leaving a lot out on the table there, but Kyle Larson to win.
Wow.
And he's had a long losing streak, so at some point it has to end. And are they missing? Is he missing the Knoxville Nationals? They're missing. They're going to be missing the Knoxville Nationals, so he's probably going to be mad that he's missing out on an opportunity to win another Knoxville Nationals.
So I saw that earlier. He is planning to enter the Knoxville Nationals, all the prelims and stuff, and I guess qualify for the race, but he won't actually be able to run it because I guess he said it still pays out 12, 13, 15K for all the races leading up to that. So he's just basically trying to pocket the money from what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, he already won the Capitani Classic.
Yeah.
Last night over Rico Abreu. They both competed in the 360 Nationals. Kyle Larson was on the podium, lost the race to Ryan Timms, who at this point has holds both the 360 and 410 Knoxville Nationals titles at the same time. I don't know if that's ever happened before. I don't think it has, because it's only happened 3 times where a driver has won both the 360 and the 410 Nationals. And the other 2 guys are 2 of the greatest that's ever done it, and Danny the Dude Lasowski and Slam and Sammy Swindell. So Ryan Timms is somebody that I don't know where some of these NASCAR teams, if they were smart, they'd be like, hey, let's give him a shot. Let's see what he can do on pavement, considering what, like Corey Day's situation with Hendrick. But to keep it wild with my picks, I'll just go with Josh Berry as my wild card. Of course, coming off of Iowa last week, one of his best, if not his best run of the whole year. Richmond is one of his best racetracks, period. He's done well in whatever vehicle he's been in, whatever team he's been in. So I think opportunity weekends here, these 3 weekends, maybe even going to the super speedway before it goes kind of back to what it's been most of the year, and why he's on the brink of not having anything driving wise next year, but would be an opportunity for him to go out there and get a big victory for the Wood brothers in another home game for them, of course. All right. So, Josh, please let us know what's going on iRacing Gaming in the sim segment this week.
Yeah, of course. This week, iRacing, happening this week in iRacing, when I pull that up, special events, the Portimao 1000 special event for road racing on iRacing here. So, that'll feature, I think, GT3 here. So, yeah, it should be interesting there. Of course, NASCAR iRacing Series at Richmond Raceway here. IndyCar iRacing Series at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. There, iRacing's going to have a DTM series as well this week. They will be at Nürburgring, the Sprint Streck Grand Prix circuit there. Endurance Series, Graventic Endurance Series, 24-hour race, Circuit Barcelona, Catalunya Historic there. Then, Dirt 410 Sprint Car Tour at Knoxville, and Dirt Super Late Model at Volusia Speedway Park there as well. So this week for GT3 Regional Tours, Circuit of the Americas, or not Circuit of the Americas, but at the Americas Series at Mid-Ohio, Asia Pacific Tour at Tsukuba Circuit, Europe Tour at Circuit Magny Cours on their Draft Masters this week, the COT Chevrolet Impala 2009 Daytona there, and that's for the iRacing news this week. Let's see what else. NASCAR 26, you can pre-order that now. Official gameplay trailer on there. So be looking forward to getting that. Hopefully my PlayStation 5 will be repaired by then. I took it in last week. I mentioned I took it in over a couple weekends ago. They're getting it shipped out to a motherboard team, I guess, for iBreak UFix. So hopefully they can repair it and everything, and get everything soldered back together and get it running. But NASCAR 26 on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and Series S, PC via Steam on September 18th. So looking forward to playing that. Cross-platform multiplayer, dynamic track tech, better driving model, new burnout celebrations, and there's a standalone season mode called featuring the chase. So be excited to have that back in a NASCAR game. Of course, Kyle Larson, of course, is on the cover here for NASCAR 26. So hopefully that's not a cover curse in any way for him, I guess, coming off that championship last year. So that'll be available. Standard edition, $59.99, beginning on July 29. They can pre-order that. $59.99. Standard edition, gold edition, $79.99. Gold edition receiving 3 days of early access beginning September 15th for monthly paint scheme DLC packs. 10,000 career bonus, more stuff. So should be cool there. Definitely, yeah, looking forward to getting onto that. Hopefully here, or at least maybe I'll just download it on PC, if anything, this time. Yeah, and I think that's, well, let's see what else is here available this week. Of course, NASCAR at Richmond course, IndyCar Oval Series at Homestead, Gen 4 NASCAR Cup at 2009 Michigan. Yeah, those are series at Arca Menards at Kern Raceway Park. On their iRacing, the O'Reilly Series at Portland here this week, so that's kind of interesting there. The road side as well as sports car side for what I can do. BMW M2 at Lime Rock Park, NASCAR or GT3 fixed challenge at Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course on there. LMP2, okay, so LMP2 and prototype challenge at Daytona, so that might be something to try out there. Definitely get my road course skills back up there at Daytona's road course on there. What else? Yeah, global, I guess. Wonder if there's a new global endurance challenge coming up on. That's probably what it is. I'm trying to look. I guess. A couple weeks, a 24-hour race, global endurance tour for the on Daytona. So I don't know if I'm going to do that. I probably might be busy for that, but I don't know. We'll see. August 23rd. Don't know. That's our draft day actually. So we'll see there.
Draft night.
Yeah, draft night. So yeah. So I don't think I'll probably do that because I think I'm also going to be drafting my other fantasy league on that day. So probably not, but it is there. Yeah, I think, for iRacing, that's it this week. Also, I don't really talk about, I talked about real life karting. I did go karting on Saturday or Friday in Orlando, and it was definitely a challenge there. There's a lot of lap traffic in the third race, so I didn't really get to put up any good times there. But looks like for Orlando Kart Center, I guess their Friday night league is coming back for the fall, so hopefully get some schedule here soon for that, and hopefully be able to have some opportunities to run that on Friday nights over Orlando. The karting game so I do have a karting simulator game that I very rarely play, but I have played in the past a couple times, called Kart Racing Pro. I did find somebody produced a track called Monticello Karting and Motorcycle Club, actually designed. It's up in Monticello, Florida, over in the kind of the Panhandle side, sort of near Tallahassee, 2 hours from Jacksonville, but it's designed by Juan Pablo Montoya's father there. It's a fairly big karting place. They did have, I think this year they did have the Florida karting series run a championship race there, but also the karting guy that I know that holds events, he does some stuff there and everything. But anyways, I downloaded that track, so might be an opportunity to practice that and maybe do some actual real karting in the future. So just to learn that specific track. It's about 4 hours for me, so might have to try to go there in October potentially. We'll see. Next event is during that time frame, so we'll see there. But did download that recently, and then finally got to trying that out here on Kart Racing Pro. So definitely get some reps in virtually and at least try to learn the track and having a sense of really getting into if I do decide to do that, but we'll see. But of course, that's it for sim segment this week. Of course, you can follow all the sim racing when I do have sim racing on there on streaming on twitch.tv/UCLR2. You can go watch that on there. And then, of course, the Twitter page at JP Huffine on Twitter. Go follow me on there. Football season coming back. Definitely, gonna have to be in some people's mentions. Of course, a lot of Jag fans are, of course, and I'll definitely probably be one of them for sure. Especially if they, continue to be successful and people, don't give them the attention. Last year you can say, okay, well, they coming off a losing season, nobody really expected. Now, think they prefer they're for real. So we'll see how that goes this season and everything. And then, of course, Josh Huffine Photography Instagram, and go follow me on there for all my photography stuff. Definitely be producing more content soon, of course, for Coke 0400 and all that coming up. I will be there, and definitely other races in the future as well, and rocket launches as well for that too. And then, of course, you can follow our Gripster Podcast YouTube page on YouTube and subscribe to us and listen, watch, and the whole bit there. So, yeah, of course, glad to be able to do it for another week and, be able to talk about this and, getting closer to football time, getting closer to chase for the cup. Excited for all of that for sure.
Yeah, football season coming along always it gets more exciting. And then, of course, we get the chat moving again in our league. Fall Brawl starting again for, I think, the 19th year here this year, 18th or 19th year. I have to count back. Well, I can see it right here just before you go. So, 18, 19th year. So crazy to think how long that league has gone on. So trying to get that elusive 7th, so we'll see if we can do that. I don't know. Do I trade off the elusive 7th and the Niners somehow or another pull off the miracle and then I might not be around anymore? I don't know. But the Knicks did win a championship earlier, a few months ago, so maybe if the Niners can do it, then finish it off for me for all my major sports teams as an adult. But we'll see what happens. Just love football, so it's great having you, Josh, as a great friend that's also a football fan. It also makes it great too with our fantasy teams, but also just talking about the game. So, and also for us doing our racing deal here for all these years, 7 years of this. So, thank you to everyone who likes, subscribes, listens to the Gripster Podcast here on our YouTube page, on get it off of philipgmatthew.com, podbean.com, and GSP1428 on YouTube, all on audio aspects. You can find me PGMGSP28 on Instagram, PGMatthew28 on Twitter. Thank you for listening, as always, and we'll be back for episode 328 of the Gripster Podcast next week, and recapping Markham for IndyCar, Cup and Trucks at Richmond. Then I think Cup and Trucks will be at New Hampshire. IndyCar will be at the in DC, and I believe that F1 will be back for the start of the second half of their season as well. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about week 1 of the preseason of the NFL. Everything else goes on in the world of racing sports. We'll talk about here on the Gripster Podcast. As always, thank you, Josh, for all your insights and takes in terms of football, racing, and everything else. And of course, sim racing, because you're the ace here in the sim racing aspect. Me, I'm somewhat of an ace at bowling. We'll take that. And with that, thanks for listening. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Let your friends know about us, and we'll see you next time.